Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan, and today we are going to be counting down the top 10 best players so far in this year's 2021 World Juniors. Now we are past the preliminary games, and now we got an idea of which players are really performing in this tournament. But who do I see as the players that have had the best tournament so far, and who are truly the best players so far in this year's World Juniors? Watch till the end for all the prospect content and the top 10 rankings, and hit that subscribe button if you are new. 70% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so join the Grav gang for more draft and World Junior content just like this one. Now we're going to waste zero time and get straight into the top 10 best players so far, and we're going to start out at number 10, the 10th best player of the World Juniors up to this point in Matthew Beniers. Matthew Beniers for Team USA has been absolutely exceptional so far in this tournament. In 4 games played, has gotten 2 assists for 2 points, but I wouldn't really look at the points so much with Beniers, but more on how he is playing. He's been playing on that second line of Matthew, Boldi, and Cole Caulfield, and in some games has looked like the best player on that line. Now Matthew Beniers is a 2021 draft eligible, has been playing in the University of Michigan for this past season and looked great in the NCAA, but in the World Juniors I think is right now playing his best hockey, has really transitioned beautifully to that USA team, but again is just turning 18, is a guy that is draft eligible, but is a second line center for Team USA, is a fantastic penalty killer, and really does everything you'd want in a center for the NHL level. This is a guy that I have skyrocketing my rankings in 2021. With how he's been playing, I just loved every single bit, and this is a guy that can pretty much do it all for you in every single way, and for the US has been extraordinarily important as their second line C. But we're now going to go on to the 9th best player of this year's World Juniors, and we're going to go from a player from Team USA now to Team Canada, and this is a guy that has had a great last couple of games especially, and just over the course of the World Juniors has been a very important part of Team Canada, that being Quinton Byfield. Now the second overall pick by the LA Kings has had an interesting tournament thus far. In the first couple of games, I don't think he was too impressive, at least offensively, but he's been playing third line minutes, and as that third line center, I think has pretty much been perfect in that role. In 4 games so far, he's gotten 2 goals for 5 assists and 7 points overall, and especially that Switzerland game, you could see how dominant he was offensively, but he would be putting up more numbers if he wasn't the third line center. But he's playing on that line with guys like Jack Quinn and other guys as well like Jacob Pellichet, isn't given the most great options, at least compared to a guy like Dylan Cousins or a Connor McMichael, and I think is making the most of it. I mean, when you look at a third line center and the ice time that he's been giving so far, he's pretty much done as good as you can ask, especially over the past couple of games where defensively and face-offs and really all the little things you want in a center, he's been doing beautifully. And we're now going to go on to the 8th best player of the World Juniors so far, and this is going to be the second player from Team Germany, but he has been exceptional coming from the second round of last year's draft, John Jason Peterka. The second round pick by the Buffalo Sabres last year for 2020 has done a pretty exceptional job for Team Germany so far. In 4 games played, has 4 goals, 6 assists for 10 points. Now, obviously, he's on that first line with Tim Stuetzle, but in one game in particular, especially early on, I thought John Jason Peterka might have been the player of the game offensively. He has been just really consistent, though, throughout this tournament, and offensively has been fantastic. When guys like Tim Stuetzle haven't been putting it all on the shifts, sometimes John Jason Peterka will go out there and just be the man offensively, and be the guy that's creating line rushes, too. Now, we saw, obviously, Tim Stuetzle, especially in that Switzerland game, that he was the main guy there, but still, John Jason Peterka, I'm pretty sure got a hat trick, was still fantastic, and was still a huge part of that Germany team. But now we're going to go on to number 7 and the 7th best player of the World Juniors thus far. I'm going to go to our first and only Russian player on this list, that being Canucks first rounder Vasily Podkolzin. Now, I've been pretty impressed with how Podkolzin has played, and points-wise, he hasn't been top of the World Juniors, but I think in how he's played and how consistent he's been a huge reason why Russia didn't lose more games than they did. Now, in his 4 games so far, he's gotten 2 goals, for 2 assists and 4 points. Has been a point per game, and you might expect a little bit more with Vasily Podkolzin, but to me, especially in the past couple of games, and especially in that Sweden game, he was terrific. I thought he was always rushing when he was on the ice, always was just making an impact out there. And defensively also, I think has had a pretty strong positive impact for Team Russia as well. But the offense, especially in the past couple of games, has been pretty much exceptional. And I think we will see that transition over the quarterfinals for Team Russia. He is on that first line of Amirov and Kuzadidov. All three of those guys could be on this list. But to me, Podkolzin has been the most consistent, the most impactful, and in my opinion, the best player for Russia so far. And now we're going to get into number 6 and the 6th best player of this year's World Juniors. Coming in at number 6, Team Canada starter in Devon Levi. Devon Levi has been exceptional. Now, you can raise your hand if you expect him to be this good. I know I did not, so I'm going to have my hands behind my back. But with Levi, he was a guy that could have been the starter going into Team Canada's camp, and I was trying to make sure to watch as much of that as possible with those training camps for Team Canada, and I was pretty impressed by him. I thought he should have been the starter for Canada, at least to start out, but I would be lying to you guys if I thought he would be this good throughout the tournament. Now, he was a 7th rounder by the Florida Panthers in this past 2020 draft, and so far is making that stock look very good. I think he's played actually all 4 games for Team Canada thus far. He has an 0.82 goals against average, and so far a .951 save percentage. Has just been terrific for Team Canada. Now, I do want to say that he's probably been the most sheltered goalie so far because Team Canada's defense has been pretty great, at least in terms of blocking shots and suppressing chances. So I think Levi's had a pretty interesting run, but still, considering the circumstances, has been pretty exceptional. I've really been impressed by his poise, his maturity already at such a young age, and he's a guy that, there wasn't any clear-cut starter for Team Canada going in here, but Levi made the most of that opportunity, got the starting job, and has been pretty fantastic. And for a guy that was playing in the CCHL last year, was a 7th rounder, and now is Team Canada starter, that's a pretty fantastic story, and I'm wishing the best with him in his hopefully pretty lengthy NHL career. Then going on to number 5 and the 5th best players so far in this year's World Juniors, I'm going to go with another Team USA player in Matthew Boldi. Now, Matthew Boldi, I think, has been really, really impressive so far in this tournament. So far in 4 games played, has 4 goals, 1 assist for 5 points. And I think for Matthew Boldi, again, just like Matthew Beniers, I wouldn't really look at the points when it comes to him because he's not the top of this year's World Juniors. He's still up there, but I think Matthew Boldi has probably been one of the USA's most consistent forwards besides Trevor Zegras, to be honest. But he, every single game, has been really fantastic on that second line, has been an exceptional play driver. He's a guy that's been getting into the offensive zone so easily. His zone entries are so clean. And this is a guy that, especially in the offensive zone, being able to create space, make chances happen, and his passing has also been incredible, even though he only has 1 assist on the tournament. He's a guy that offensively has really been just flexing his muscles, and also defensively has been chipping in quite well. Before the 2019 draft, I saw him as one of the biggest Swiss Army knives, I would say, of that draft, and so far he's been really used in a perfect role for the Team USA, and just has been in almost every single role. As a second line forward, he's been on the power play, he's been on the penalty kill, and it's just been overall super impactful for the U.S. But now we're going to go on to number 4 and the 4th best player in this year's World Juniors. And you know what? I'm only going to go with one Finnish player here in this top 10. But this guy, I think, absolutely deserves to be here and be inside this top 10. That being Florida Panthers' top 15 pick, Anton Lindell. Now, Lindell is one of my favorite prospects from the 2020 draft, and so far in the Liga, and how he's performing in the World Juniors, he has not disappointed one bit. Now, so far, he has 4 games played under his belt with 3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. My bad. But when it comes to Anton Lindell, again, I wouldn't completely look at the points here because as Team Finland, just in general, their roster is not that great. They haven't performed too amazingly as well, but Anton Lindell has been the most consistent guy. Now, I think against Finland, he was a little bit disappointing offensively, but defensively, he was still in pinpoint shape and was still great there. And even when Anton Lindell is off his game, I think that Canada game was a perfect example. Even when he's not offensively amazing, he could still put up so much value in the defensive end and be such a great overall centerman. And I think he's been so valuable for Team Finland. If I made like an MVP rankings instead of the best players, he would definitely be top 3, I think. But now we are inside the top 3 best players in this year's tournament, and we're going to get straight on to number 3. And number 3, the final Team Canada player on this list, I have Buffalo Sabres top 10 pick, Dylan Cousins. Dylan Cousins has been marvelous so far in this tournament. In 4 games played, has 6 goals, 5 assists for 11 points, and offensively at least has been just super important for Team Canada. I think just overall he's been the best Canada player thus far. I don't think that's exactly a hot take, but I do see it as the truth. Even though he is leading in points, he's been the most impactful offensively and honestly the most consistent as well. He's been really good in all 4 games that Team Canada's played, and offensively has been the main guy that Canada's relied upon. And so far, he's been fantastic. Honestly, I could think he would have more points because he's been setting up so many solid plays that just have not gone in the nets, especially on the power play, where I think he could have a lot more production. But I think with Dylan Cousins, it's just been the skating that's really been key. He's been using that a lot more, which I think is really impressive, and has been blowing defenders kind of out of the water a lot throughout this tournament, which is great to see. His skating has had a big element to that, but his passing has been fantastic. He's been using that exceptionally well. But now we're going to go on to number 2 and the second best player of this tournament. And some people might have him as number 1, which I can respect, but I think there is one more clear-cut guy. But at number 2, I have German forward Tim Stuetzle. Tim Stuetzle is just really, really good, and I think he's proved that over this tournament. Well, I guess he already proved that last year, buddy. He's proven it again, if people didn't know already. But Tim Stuetzle is good. He's definitely good, and I think especially with this past couple of games, has really come into his own. The first couple of games for Germany, I thought he was good, but he wasn't absolutely dominating. But you saw in that Switzerland game just how crazy he was, and just over the past couple of games, I think has been super, super impactful. In the MVP rankings, I'd probably have him in the same spot at number 2. Could be number 1, but definitely top 2 in my opinion. But Stuetzle has been doing, especially over the past couple of games, pretty much everything for Germany. He's drawn a lot of penalties. He's just done all the great things offensively. His skating has been unbelievable and has not really taken a beating from that injury he had with his wrist, which is great to see. But it seems like Tim Stuetzle never had that injury, which is fantastic. Hopefully this is a little bit of a good warm-up for him, and then we can see him go to the NHL and hopefully do well in year 1. We'll see what happens, but so far, so good for Team Stuetzle, and hopefully he's able to continue that in the quarterfinals versus Russia. But before we get into the number 1 pick, the best player in the World Juniors so far, I want to give 5 honorable mentions to guys that just missed this list, but there is a lot of competition here, so these guys have still had fantastic tournaments. First, starting off Toppy Nebula, he has been great on that Finnish D-core, and has really put up some great stats as well. I thought overall, though, Nebula has been really good. I've loved his defensive style, and I've always have, but he's had more of an offensive power play role for Team Finland, and so far, he's been pretty great in that aspect, so good for him, being over a point per game and doing quite well in this tournament. I also have Alexander Holtz from Team Sweden. He's a guy that also just missed, but I thought had a little bit of a lesser game versus the U.S., which I might have put him outside the top 10, but still overall, I think he's been very good as well, and offensively has been great for Team Sweden. Then I have Victor Soderstrom as well for the Swedes. He's a guy that's, again, I don't think he had the greatest game for this versus the U.S., but 3 games prior, I thought was great on that Sweden defense and was the best player there so far. So I think he definitely could be in the top 10, maybe if Sweden gets going in the tournament itself. Then I have 2 players from Team Canada. Philip Tomasino, I'll start out with, first rounder from the Nashville Predators. He has been one of the more interesting ones because he's still on the 4th line, still playing bottom 6 minutes, but whenever he's out there, whenever he's playing, he's been really, really good, and especially in the middle couple of games was really important for Team Canada. And I'm not sure why he's still on the 4th line because he's been fantastic for them offensively. Last but not least, I have Jamie Drysdale. In my opinion, Drysdale, especially over this last win versus Finland, I was kind of twisted on who I think was the better defenseman so far for the Canadians, either Bowen Byram or Jamie Drysdale. But I think especially in that win over Finland, Jamie Drysdale was just so much better. And just in the tournament by itself, I would barely give the edge to him. Both have been great, but Jamie Drysdale's skating especially, I think, has been used more. And I think defensively also has been really a lot more consistent than Bowen Byram too. So I would have Jamie Drysdale at the edge there, but another fantastic honorable mention that just missed this list. But now we go on to the best player in this year's World Junior Championship, and I'm not sure if this is really the biggest hot take I'll have in this top 10, but in my opinion, he is without a doubt, so far at least, the best player of this tournament and has been the MVP, the best, and has just been the perfect player for Team USA. That being my boy from the Anaheim Ducks, Trevor Zegras. Trevor Zegras has been phenomenal. So far in 4 games played, has 6 goals, 7 assists for 13 points, and right now sits on third, or actually tied JVR for 3rd most USA total points in the World Juniors, and has just been unbelievable. To me, Trevor Zegras has been so much fun to watch, and also has been the best player. I mean, he's playing with Alex Turcotte and Kaliev, and they're no slouches, but every single shift, it's always Trevor Zegras creating the play. It's always Trevor Zegras driving play. It's always him making the exceptional play or doing something super creative or something out of nowhere that just ends up working. And that's what, to me, Trevor Zegras has always brought. Back in 2018, when I first started watching Zegras, I knew he was going to be a top 10 pick in 2019. And by the end of the 2019 rankings, I had him as my 5th best prospect. I saw him as one of these steals, if not the steal of the draft, at number 9 by Anaheim. And I knew that was going to bite teams like Edmonton in the back, who ended up passing on him. But Trevor Zegras, I think the main thing that stands him out from a lot of the rest of the prospects is his vision. He has like 1,000 eyes on the back of his head, just always aware of what's happening on the ice at all times. That's able to create chances because of that. He's able to just be so consistent as well. In the offensive zone, you will never count out Trevor Zegras because he's always impactful and always putting his all out there too. And defensively as well, I don't think he's been too bad. He's been pretty solid thus far, and especially in terms of puck possession, bringing it out of his own zone has been exceptional so far too. So I've been so impressed with Trevor Zegras. Even though I already loved him going into this tournament and already knew he was going to be fantastic, he's still blown my expectations out of the water and has been not just the best player for Team USA, not just the best player in Group B, but the best player so far in the World Juniors this tournament so far. And honestly, I don't expect that to really stop. I see him being the best player in this tournament by the end of it, and if USA wins the gold medal, 100% being the MVP. But that'll be it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on my rankings, what you agree and what you disagree and agree with. And let me know in the comments as well, who do you think have been the best players so far in the World Juniors? Make sure you share this video with your friends. Make sure you also click on this card as well for all my World Junior content right in one playlist. My name is Devon, though. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Goodbye.